Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a mythical creature believed to inhabit forests in North America, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. It has become a cultural icon since the mid-20th century and is featured in American and Canadian folklore. Enthusiasts of Bigfoot have offered various forms of dubious evidence to prove its existence, including anecdotal claims of sightings, photographs, video and audio recordings, hair samples, and casts of large footprints. However, the scientific consensus is that Bigfoot and alleged evidence are a combination of folklore, misidentification, and hoax rather than a living animal. That being said, let's give it another round of exploring this phenomenon called Bigfoot. We'll be discussing its history, the different documented encounters and evidence that prove it, as well as those that fall short, and talk about some supernatural and extraterrestrial leads that could give more meaning to its origin and what the Bigfoot really is. Some theories link Bigfoot to the biblical Nephilim, suggesting they are giant, mysterious beings or the offspring of fallen angels and humans, while others view them as descendants of Seth and Cain. Ancient Mesopotamian mythology has sometimes linked to Bigfoot in fringe theories that suggest the Anunnaki were extraterrestrials who genetically engineered humans and possibly Bigfoot-like creatures. Western folklorists trace the phenomenon of Bigfoot to a combination of factors and sources, including the European wild man figure, folk tales, and indigenous cultures. Examples of similar folk tales of wild, hair-covered humanoids exist throughout the world, such as the skunk ape of the southeastern United States, the Almas, Yeren, and Yeti in Asia, the Australian Yowie, and creatures in the mythologies of indigenous people. Bigfoot is often described as a large, muscular, and bipedal human or ape-like creature covered in black, dark brown, or dark reddish hair. Anecdotal descriptions estimate a height of roughly 6 to 9 feet, with some having the creature standing as tall as 10 to 15 feet. Other descriptions include having broad shoulders, its eyes glowing, and it having a stench as foul as skunk spray. The footprints it leaves are documented to be as large as 24 inches long and up to 8 inches wide. Ecologist Robert Pyle argues that most cultures have accounts of human-like giants in their folk history, expressing a need for larger-than-life creatures. European folklore traditionally had many instances of the wild man of the woods or wild people, often described as a naked creature covered in hair with only the face, feet, and hands, and in some cases, the knees, elbows, or breasts remaining bare. These European wild people range from human hermits to human-like monsters. Think of Merlin, the magician, who, apart from the textual descriptions and cinematic representations, was thought out to be a wild man of the woods. Upon migrating to North America, myths of the wild people persisted, with documented sightings reported in what is now New York State and Pennsylvania. Anthropologist David Daegling states that the modern Sasquatch is largely the product of a European-derived culture, as possibly to an even greater extent is the Australian Yahoo. Many indigenous cultures across the North American continent include tales of mysterious hair-covered creatures living in forests, and these legends existed long before contemporary reports of the creature described as Bigfoot. In 1929, Indian agent and teacher J.W. Burns published a collection of stories about British Columbia's wild men, including the Sasquatch tribe, which he believed to be the anglicized version of Saskets, meaning hairy man in the Halkomelem language. The Cherokee folklore includes tales of the Tsul-Kalu, who were described as slant-eyed giants that resided in the Appalachian Mountains and are sometimes associated with Bigfoot. In 1847, Paul Kane reported stories by natives about Skookoons, a race of cannibalistic wild men living on the peak of Mount St. Helens, which would later, in 1924, be published in the news as a group of gold prospectors and a group of ape men had an altercation with each other. The Alutiiq of the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska tell of the Nantinak, a Bigfoot-like creature which was featured in the Discovery Plus television series Alaskan Killer Bigfoot, which claimed the Nantinak was responsible for the population decrease of Portlock in the 1940s. In 1958, Jerry Crew discovered large footprints in the Six Rivers National Forest, leading to the name Bigfoot. The footprints were similar to previous job sites and strange incidents, leading to the logging company using the term. Crew and others initially believed someone was playing a prank. Reporters interviewed lumber workers and wrote articles about the footprints. Crew appeared on the front page of the newspaper, spreading the term. Today, the existence of Bigfoot is deemed by science as not credible, as it is often attributed to hoaxes, confusion, or delusion rather than genuine sightings. Bigfoot is alleged to live in regions unusual for a large, non-human primate, such as temperate latitudes in the northern hemisphere. All recognized non-human apes are found in the tropics of Africa and Asia, and no Bigfoot remains have been found in the Americas. A number of cultural anthropologists, such as Philip Stevens, mention the scientific consensus that it defies all logic that there is a sufficient population of these things to keep them going. In the 1970s, the scientific community generally avoided lending credence to fringe theories about Bigfoot, as they were often dismissed by the scientific community. In a 2002 interview with National Public Radio's Science Friday, psychiatrist Jane Goodall expressed her belief in the existence of Bigfoot, stating that she was fascinated by the idea and wanted them to exist. However, she also acknowledged that there has never been a single authentic Bigfoot hide or hair. Paleontologists argue that if Bigfoot existed, there would be an abundance of evidence that can be found anywhere today, making the existence of such a creature extremely unlikely. This evidence includes consistent reports of uniform vocalizations throughout North America, easy-to-find tracks for Bigfoot, and an abundance of Bigfoot DNA, as it has been found for similar animals. In summary, the scientific community generally avoided lending credence to fringe theories about Bigfoot in the 1970s, and despite the lack of evidence, such as consistent reports of uniform vocalizations, easy-to-find tracks, and DNA, the existence of Bigfoot remains a controversial topic. Now, with all that we've discussed about the legends, folklore, and science behind Bigfoot, let's venture into a totally new theory. In studying the evolution of man, it is said that a typical chimpanzee, which are hominids, and what humans are, which are hominins, today differ only by 0.02% in terms of DNA. Another scientific factoid is about an ape-like species called Gigantopithecus that would be as tall as 10 to 12 feet, which are considered hominins. Yes, like us humans, they are hominins. So if the 0.02% difference in DNA between a chimpanzee and a human being through a protein called DUF1220, which is often coined the term the missing link, then could there be slightly the same difference or smaller between what humans are and what the Gigantopithecus was? I imagine a world centuries ago where our early ancestors hunted and killed these gigantic creatures for game, or security, or even food. And those Gigantopithecus that survived all those centuries of evolution up to today were the ones who were able to survive as they were the smartest and the most cunning of them all. The Anunnaki, or other extraterrestrial beings, are believed to have come to Earth and genetically manipulated us into what we are today. Case in point, protein DUF1220. Imagine if we were not genetically engineered, or we did not evolve into what we are, we would probably all be Bigfoot today. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and share the video to your community. And remember to keep asking why on YouTube.